Good morning. How many of you, now that you're home from school and have all kinds of time, are learning to tie your shoes? Yeah, the first part's not too hard, and then you get to the bows and you try to get those right, and sometimes you just end up with a really big mess, or it doesn't stay tight at all, and you wind up with a big old knots in there, and you get frustrated, and maybe your sister tries to help, or your mom or your dad, and it just doesn't work right, and we just get all tied up in knots, literally. Your shoes tied up in knots, your feelings are tied up in knots, you get snippy with each other. Sometimes people feel like they're all tied up in knots sometimes maybe it's because online school isn't going as well as you'd hoped, or since people are together in your family all the time, maybe you get a little snippy with each other and you just kind of feel all tied up in knots sometimes. Well, in our Bible lesson today, I think the disciples were all tied up in knots. It had been 3 days since Jesus was crucified on the cross, and they saw him die on the cross. They saw him buried, put into the tomb, and it's been 3 days since then, and they don't know what to do. They're all tied up in knots. Should they stay where they are? It might not be safe to leave, not because of coronavirus, but because of the Roman soldiers. They might come and arrest them just like they arrested Jesus and put him on a cross. And then the women had gone out to the tomb that morning, and they came back and said Jesus wasn't there, and that they had seen Jesus and that he was alive. But Peter and John ran out there and they didn't see Jesus, but they did see the empty tomb, and the linens that were there, they were just laying on the rock where Jesus' body had lain, but Jesus wasn't there. What should they do? Should they leave the upper room? Should they believe the women? Should they go on to Galilee? Should they stay where it's safe? They were all tied up in knots, pulled one way and then the other, not knowing what to do. And suddenly, Jesus appeared in the room with them. He breathed on them and said, "Peace to you." And just like that, the knots were gone. The worries were gone. It put a smile on their face. Jesus was right there in front of them, showing them his hands and his feet, feeling his side. He was alive. He had risen. And that can take the fear and the knots and the doubts away. Jesus is alive, and he's here with you in these times of coronavirus, when we have fears and doubts and things don't go the way we want them to. Jesus is right here with us, breathing on us his peace, his love, his kindness. He's here. He's got this. He's got you, and he has heaven waiting for you. Will you say a prayer with me? Say, "Dear Jesus, thank you that when I have knots in my life, I can turn to you for relief, for your peace. Help me to share your peace with others who are all knotted up. In Jesus' name, amen."